The beginning of the video has less quality for 6 minutes. After that it improves. Give it a chance. Thank you. It was a rainy night, in an old town from the year 1000 in Hispania. In the high Middle Ages, in one of the houses of a town that was not too wealthy but not completely miserable either, a woman called Berenice was giving birth. She was a simple woman, without the best body, without the best eyes, with brown hair, next to her midwife. It was not easy. Her husband, the father of the newborn, was not there, surely working late to support her and the 3 brothers of the little girl, who the midwife announced was female, leaving the little girl next to her sleeping mother. Since her husband was not there, the midwife did the favor of staying to take care of the bleeding and the fever of Berenice. The midwife couldn't help but grimace in surprise as she watched the little girl open her eyes slightly after a while. Her eyes were navy blue, large and beautiful. And the midwife silently wondered if the family had any distant relatives with those eyes. After a while, the girl's father came running in soaked by the rain, and the midwife had to hold back the urge to send him away so he wouldn't dirty the newborn's place and the sensitive sleeping mother. Letting the man approach his son and cradle him in his arms, the man called Alaric also noticed the little girl's blue eyes, feeling a little insecure and, above all, many doubts. But the next day he would ask his wife, maybe she had relatives with those eyes? Something the father didn't have, and he was black-haired with simple brown eyes. Maybe he didn't have the best body either, but he liked to think he was healthy for these difficult times. And as she thought, she left the little girl next to her mother. Going to the living room to sleep on the floor, she did not want to disturb either of them. The next day, Berenice woke up with the voices of her other children. They were touching the baby's cheeks and making funny sounds around her. It was normal that they wanted to meet their new sister, being also the first woman among them. Berenice got up and went with the others outside, seeing her husband in the living room putting breakfast on the table, what they could afford for the woman to recover from childbirth. Even if the man felt tired of work and sleeping on it, cold floor, even if he had certain doubts and concerns, he would not be able to make his newly recovered wife work. After breakfast we have to talk, for now recover, Alaric said. His wife did not think much about it. Maybe she wanted to talk about the new expense that came with having a new child in an already large family, or maybe she wanted to claim the oldest child to work and cover the new expense. But when they finished the silent breakfast between them and separated, leaving the newborn in the crib, a new topic surprised her. How is it that the girl has blue eyes? Did any of your relatives touch them blue? I do not want to accuse you of anything, but this is very confusing for me, and I have to maintain my honor. Berenice did not expect that. She was so tired that she had not even noticed her daughter's eyes. They should not even be able to be seen easily at such a young age. But the color was very striking. My grandfather had blue eyes. It is a surprise that my daughter has inherited it, but you have nothing to worry about. I cannot help but feel a little upset by your doubts, but I can understand your reasons, Berenice said. The first thing she thought, it wasn't even true, but Alaric didn't know Berenice's grandfather, so she trusted his word. It's okay, I believe you. I'm sorry for doubting you. I just don't want people to whisper inappropriate things about our family, Alaric said. Then they hugged each other. Although Alaric Ayun felt somewhat insecure, they were at peace for the moment. After that the family took care of the baby together. The little girl seemed to grow fast, so before the baptism came, 2 months later she was already starting to grow red hair. This was dismaying for the parents, especially for Alaric, who could believe that his wife's grandfather had blue eyes, but not that he had red hair, the color of the devil and evil. That was what made him the most furious, deciding shortly after to leave in the moment of rage, taking all his things, his wife being able to see him leave when the other children were out. "Please, don't go. I wasn't unfaithful to you, I swear to God. No, don't leave us," Berenide shouted, throwing herself to grab her husband's leg on her knees on the ground. It had been a few tense days. Until Tofo exploded. "Don't touch me. I was stupid to have believed you. You should be ashamed after having 3 children. Although now I don't even know if they are really mine." Alaric responded with hatred and rage, pushing his wife away with a shove, the leg, before leaving in a hurry to Tosa from there. Hours later, the male siblings of the family arrived back home, seeing their mother with her daughter laid on the table. At once everyone rushed to grab their mother because Berenide was trying to end the life of the daughter who had destroyed her marriage. Of course, despite the rage, she hesitated, which gave her family room to maneuver to stop the tragedy. "What the hell are you doing? You've gone crazy." "I can't believe it," asked the oldest brother of all. He was about 18 years old, with light brown hair and eyes, called Bidoof, as he let go of her and took his younger sister in his arms, walking away tensely and nervously looking at his mother with hatred. The woman began to cry, putting her hands on her face. Bidoof did not care about her crying, checking the baby's wounds. Her neck was marked by the grip. It was a miracle that the little girl's neck had not been broken. "It is that devilish child's fault. Your father left because of her. I deny her as a daughter." The other children were stunned. The oldest of all seemed confused, but still did not leave the girl at any time. The youngest brother of all the boys, called Bertram, 11 years old, with dark brown hair and light brown eyes, separated from his mother, looking around nervously and sadly, on the verge of tears. "Dad, Father, where are you?" the boy asked, starting to run around the house until the oldest of the brothers stopped him, hugging him against his body to comfort him. "Enough, that's enough, Bertram. I know you're too young to understand this, but if our father left, it's because of his own fault and his lack of love for us, not because of you or our little sister," Bidoof said sadly. But being the strong one in the situation, making his brother calm down a little, Bertram grabbed his older brother's hand, feeling that he would be there for them, and so it would be. "Listen to me well. I don't want you to get close to my little sister again. If necessary, I will take care of her after work, but if you get close to her, you're going to have problems with me," Bidoof said, totally furious to his mother. But he was holding back in front of the children. His mother didn't care that she kept him, so she wouldn't have to take care of her. But she wasn't capable of ending her life completely either. And so, the eldest brother Bidoof left the room with his younger sister, leaving the other 2 children with their mother. A pattern that would begin to repeat itself, as Bidoof would take care of the little girl when he came home from work, giving her porridge and other soft foods that she could eat. The first night he let his mother go away and rest. He understood that his father's abandonment of the family left her resentful of her daughter. But he hoped that the next day she would be calm, and although in pain from the loss, she would be able to accept her daughter again. The next day he tried to talk to his mother about the issue before going to work. "I need you to breastfeed the baby while I'm out. I can't take her to work. It's not a safe place for a child," Bidoof said before getting up already prepared, leaving the baby in the crib. "No," Berenice said sharply and annoyed, almost indignant, as if it were the worst request in the world instead of something natural. "No. What do you mean no?" Bidoof asked, totally shocked and surprised. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. "She is the culprit of all this. If you want to make sure she will be okay, find a way. I hate her. She is not my daughter. She is the daughter of the devil. With that disgusting red hair? She is unbearable," Berenice replied, totally furious. Bidoof was running out of time. If he was late for work that day, he would get paid less. If he was not unlucky enough to lose his job. But he still had one option. He went to his younger brother's bedroom and spoke in a low voice to his middle brother, a 16-year-old boy with black hair and eyes named Guzman. "Brother, hey, wake up. I have a favor to ask you," he said, careful not to wake his other brother. Guzman woke up slowly and sat up looking at him confused. "Brother, I need you to take care of the girl. You don't have to do too much. Just clean your sister and feed her some soft puree that I made. Once every few hours. It's easy, I promise," Bardoof said pleadingly. Guzman got up feeling sleepy. "Yes, I can do it. It doesn't seem like such a bad task," Guzman replied, and his brother gave him a soft and strong hug. They stayed like that for a few seconds before running out of the house to work. Guzman got dressed and went to study with his brother. Some time later, a couple of hours later, he heard his little sister making small, meaningless murmurs. Remembering at that moment that he had to feed her, he got up, leaving the book next to his younger brother Bertram, whom he taught to read, as his older brother Bardoof and subsequently his father taught him to Bardoof. Guzman stood still halfway, remembering everything that happened. He had been in shock at the time, so the pain hit him like a hurricane at that moment. Starting to sob a little, remembering how his mother had told the three of them that everything was his little sister's fault. He didn't want to take care of the one who was guilty of such terrible things. So he turned around and went back to reading to his brother Bertram, ignoring the baby who kept making some high-pitched noises, until just before starting to cry she mysteriously fell silent. Inside the baby's room, a mysterious young man with purple hair and eyes was there, gently feeding the baby in his arms with soft food. The strikingly haired man named Asher did some funny and friendly things to the baby before stopping as he felt the intense gaze of his red-haired, dark red-eyed adult companion named Amy. "Stop looking at me like that. You can't hold her like I can, and it seems like no one else will feed her," Asher said. So anyone would think that maybe his partner was just sick and didn't want to infect the sensitive child. But nothing could be further from the truth. Even so, Amy didn't say anything or get in the way. From that moment on, Asher was taking care of the girl in secret without anyone seeing him, which was starting to get on Berenice's nerves, who saw leftover food in the kitchen or utensils she didn't remember using, and her two younger sons didn't know how to cook. Meanwhile, the older Badup's brother seemed unaware of that detail, thinking that his middle brother was taking care of the baby as he had asked, and Guzman of course didn't make him think otherwise. Why? She would only receive a reprimand and a punishment most likely, since at that time, in the absence of the father, the oldest male in the family ruled. After a time like that, the baby turned 2 years old, they were already giving the whole house, despite being ignored by most of the family. But when her older brother arrived, he gave her dinner. Despite the tiredness of work and the long day, he took the oldest wooden toys from his brothers, the ones who probably would not miss them, and played with his younger sister with these toys for an hour, maybe 2 with luck, until he could not bear the tiredness and took the girl to sleep, and in the worst case, he fell asleep on the floor. One of those times the girl took the opportunity to climb onto his abdomen and use him as a pillow to sleep, since in her opinion, her older brother had a bit of a belly, perfect for his own rest. Bardoof made sure that she had a good growth. When the girl turned 5, he began to teach her to read, although she seemed to learn quickly. Sometimes he found her drawing instead of writing, her brother understanding that she liked to paint, but she had to concentrate. So one day she came home with some papers and colors when she finished the work. "Let's make a deal, little friend. I'll give you these utensils. You can use them as much as you want. But when we study, you have to focus only on learning. Bardoof said. The girl happily grabbed the drawing utensils and gave him a kiss on the cheek with a jump to reach his height, even when her brother was already crouching. Yes, big brother. Thank you very much. I love you, the girl said and walked away to put away the utensils, but stopped when she heard her mother talking, who was not normally awake at that hour, not to make dinner for the breadwinner, not to take care of her daughter, but at that moment to see what her eldest son spent the extra money on. Is that what you spend your money on? On that demon? You should be ashamed. It was better to spend it on yourself or your brothers, and we do not have enough money for those expensive whims. Brushes and paints are very expensive. The girl seemed to be about to say something, but just then her brother put his arm in the middle while he stood up. Go to sleep, sister. Your mother and I have to talk. The girl obeyed, going to the bedroom, but she could still hear everything if she paid enough attention. Do not call her a demon again. Also, if she is a demon, think twice, because she came from inside you. So you are a demon just as bad or worse, because there are beasts who care more about their children than you, Bardoof said. So his mother opened her eyes wide and went straight to slap her eldest son, but he put his arm in the middle, without grabbing her hand but stopping the blow. Honestly, work is torture. They treat me like the last stupid in everything, they bother me, they make fun of the orphan son. But if I complain, I will be out of work. So, do you think I'm going to let myself be hurt in my own home? Bardoof said angrily, raising her voice a little. Her mother walked away, not knowing what to say at first. No, don't talk to your mother like that, he replied indignantly to her. But he couldn't care less who she was or who she thought she was. You are not my mother. No, at least not since you rejected my sister as your daughter years ago. At that moment you denied me too. I choose her 1,000 times. Taking care of her is exhausting, but it is the best thing that has happened to my poor and useless existence. And you are just a tick. Berenice was stunned, very offended by what her son said, but on the other hand, she did not know that her son suffered so much to support the family, and at least she had to avoid giving him more problems. It is your obligation, she murmured quietly before going to the bedroom to sleep. Bardoof let him pass, going to his younger sister's bedroom so he could spend his time of the day with her. I'm sorry to cause so much trouble, the girl said, sadly hugging a stuffed toy made of cloth that her brother had made her some time ago, but of course, that gift was much more affordable. Something that no one would complain about in their right mind. But mental health was scarce these days. No, you don't cause problems. Don't let others put ideas in your head. They are the insensitive ones, the guilty ones. You are perfect, never doubt yourself. By the way, I love you too, sister. Bardoof hugged her after encouraging her, and that day, to distract her better from everything that had happened, he let her draw and paint, leaving the learning for another day. The next day the girl woke up without her brother in the bedroom. She tried to get up but couldn't. She was motionless. She couldn't speak. She began to get stressed, thinking that it would pass in a while, but she moved her eyes when she saw a fuzzy figure in front of the bed. It was a kind of shadow without eyes or expressions. It was very disturbing. The girl looked away, preferring not to see. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. She repeated herself mentally until she looked again when the figure moved, bringing its thin hand closer to the girl's face. Don't touch me, she thought without being able to shout it out loud, being trapped in her mind. Just when she could feel its cold and putrid touch, Asher jumped from behind her forward on that shadow, throwing it to the ground, making it clear that it was not a nightmare. Asher began to hit the faceless face of that being that dared to scare his protégé, hitting furiously on top of him on the ground until that thing grabbed his arms, speaking, "You can't beat me. You don't have the necessary power." That being said, with a deep and terrifying voice, releasing each word slowly as if he was speaking to someone slowly. "Maybe not, it's true. But Fanny did. And when she can access her power, we will make you rest in peace, by fair means or foul, by blows if necessary. Until then, I will keep you in line," Asher said, mentioning a name that no one else knew and that was not given by that family, before grabbing the head of the being and squeezing until it shattered like glass, a grey liquid falling from its interior. Then that thing disappeared, leaving a trail of black ash on the ground. Then it quickly went to the girl and picked her up in its arms. When it was moved, its nervous system reacted and it hugged Asher by the neck, with whom it had been growing up with Amy, although the latter was usually more reserved and appeared less, speaking less, feeling useless in the care and protection of her little friend. Asher cradled the girl to calm her down and prevent her from crying. The girl did not seem to cry easily. But some things were beyond anyone. Even adults would be left trembling in such a situation. "Calm down. I'm here. I'll always be here. Your mother may not be here. Others may not be here or may leave with time, but I'm not, and I will give my whole life for your safety." Asher had to leave the girl on the ground, with all the pain in his soul, grudgingly watching as she tried to grab him back before he stopped being seen, but it was necessary since he was hearing footsteps. Since he hadn't let anyone else in that family see him and he wasn't going to start now, for the sake of the girl. The one who opened the door was the girl's mother, Berenice. She seemed angry, looking at the girl with disapproval, also with strangeness at seeing the girl grabbing and looking into the air. "What the hell have you done? I've heard a lot of banging and screaming. Are you breaking something? Apart from all the problems you give this family, you should be ashamed of yourself," Berenice said. Annoyed, the girl lowered her head, preferring not to argue, remaining silent. It seemed that the woman had just gotten up due to the noise, since she was wearing her nightclothes and her hair was a little disheveled. "Let this be the last time. Next time I'm going to give you a fucking beating so you learn, you little devil," she said. And with that, she left there, slamming the door. The girl, she grabbed the drawing materials. She did not feel well in the bedroom after what she had seen. Going to the garden to draw there, as she sat down, Amy appeared in front of her. The girl's face lit up with joy when she saw her. "Amy, I am so glad you came so early today. I have had such a horrible morning. I am scared. There was a dark, cold thing in my bedroom that wanted to grab me and..." Asher hit her and said some things that I do not understand. "It is easier for me to talk to you," the girl said without trying to hug Amy, since she knew that she could not, that she would go through her and she could simply go through her without feeling anything beyond a faintly warm air. Amy looked at her confused and looked at Asher behind her. "She thought you were protecting her," Amy said to Asher angrily. "That is what I do. Who do you think has prevented that thing from taking Fanny to the Moo world?" Asher stopped before continuing, not wanting to mention worlds of the dead or curses in front of the girl who looked at him with her big blue and curious eyes. Amy looked at him with that kind of expression that screamed, "Shut up." Eyes slightly open and fixed on Asher. "But she is scared. I can't hug her. I'm just a stupid ghost. I can't defend her. Do your job better, sour cranberry," Amy said, insulting the color of the man's hair and eyes. Asher clenched his hands and fists with barely concealed and contained annoyance. "Blueberry me, you rotten apple," Asher shouted in response. The girl stared and put her hands on her waist indignantly. She said, stopping the discussion at the moment. They both looked at her, stopping, but Amy tried not to laugh. A girl was scolding them. "Well, She had seen more surprising things from her friend. Asher said and sat on the floor next to his protégé. Amy, I wish you would come more often. Why don't you? Don't you like me that much? The girl asked as she got on the floor ready to draw. No, no. For God's sake. I love you. Of course I like you. But I can't stand seeing how bad your family members are and me not being able to do anything. I feel useless. I want to help you but I can't. I can only watch and keep quiet. It feels bad, little one. Very bad. One day you will understand. Amy answered, lowering her head and holding her left shoulder with her right hand in a sad manner. It's okay. I love you just the same. It's not your fault. Well, not being here. But I like talking to you. It makes me feel better. Asher also talks to me, but sometimes he says things I don't understand. The girl explained kindly, making it clear that Amy was her friend. Even if she was on another existential plane, she would still be by her side. And Amy with the girl. For now. Okay, I will come more times. I promise. This that you have told me is much more valuable than you can think, little one. Amy answered with a small, loving and emotional smile. Feeling warm in her heart at the girl's kindness, her understanding, her kindness. The girl stayed there carefully drawing and painting Amy while Asher left. She did not get along very well with Amy. Both were very different, but both put up with each other for the sake of the girl who loved them both equally, but apparently, Asher left at a bad time. Some time later, the girl felt a hand suddenly grab her drawing. At that moment, she walked away screaming, scared, with her nerves high. She had been very scared. The blur of movement made her think that being had returned, going backwards on the ground. But, looking closely, she saw her middle brother Guzman and the youngest boy Bertram there. She felt relieved as she stood up, although thinking that if what her brother wanted was to see the drawing, he could have asked for it. Is this the demon you talk to so much alone? Guzman asked, looking at the drawing of that woman with red hair and eyes. So much red was not a good omen in those times. The color of blood. The girl looked at him confused. What? No, it's not a demon. It's my friend, the girl said. But as she approached to retrieve the drawing, Guzman suddenly stopped his hands, breaking the drawing in two. Amy clenched her fists furiously, beginning to feel that terrible feeling of uselessness that was becoming a routine for her. And the girl pressed her lips sadly, avoiding crying. For her, was it childish to cry over a drawing? But doesn't she have the right to be childish? She was 5 years old, and although her intelligence was advanced for her age, she had the right to cry, run, break things, kick, throw tantrums, and yet she was leaving all those things hidden under the pillow. The girl turned around, gathering the materials, and ran to the bedroom. Amy followed her, thinking about how to comfort her when they get to the bedroom. Little girl, wait, don't cry. They are cruel, it's not your fault. Damn, if I could teach them a lesson, Amy said, kneeling on the floor next to the girl to be at her level. She hugged the materials. She was afraid that after what happened they would take away or break the scarce materials she had thanks to her older brother. Calm down. Now everything will be fine. And you still have sheets of paper, you can do the drawing again. And you will do it 1,000 times better, because everything you do is perfect, Amy said in a soft voice. The girl smiled a little, feeling somewhat better, although she did not seem to want to repeat the drawing. For people who draw and paint, repeating a drawing because of losing it in some way or making a mistake is quite desperate and annoying, and Amy did not seem to understand that. Hours later, at dusk, when Bardoof arrived home, he was greeted by the girl holding a drawing up to him. It was a portrait of Bardoof. Eniel opened his eyes, surprised at how well done it was, and bent down to take the drawing. Honey, It is beautiful. I really did well to give you that gift. You have talent, Barduf said with a loving smile. Of course, he would put that portrait in his bedroom. He felt like a king who had his own expensive portrait in his home. Maybe too self-centered for him, but it was a great token of love and he appreciated his little sister's opinion. But I can't help but notice that although she smiled at seeing that he liked it, she was a little sad and immediately wanted to know what happened. Sister, what's wrong? I notice you're a little bad. The girl shook her head, not wanting to talk. She felt that if there was a fight between the siblings it would be her fault. But of course, Barduf wouldn't let this go unnoticed. Normally his sister had many reasons to be sad and still she endured everything with strength. She only noticed bad when something really bad had happened. Tell me. If you are not honest with me and hide things from me, I will get angry, he said. The girl lowered her head. She could hate her mother. She could hate her other siblings. I could hate her all or the world if I had to. But no, not her brother Barduf. I didn't want them to get angry because of someone else. Guzman tore up my drawing. The first one I made, he said, was of a demon. Bertram was there but he didn't do anything, he didn't care. Please don't be angry with them. I don't want to break this family up anymore, she said. Barduf gritted his teeth in total fury, but when he heard his sister's plea to calm down, he tried not to show the anger he had. He picked her up and put the drawing away in the bedroom. And then he made dinner. He made the girl's favorite fruit and vegetable puree to cheer her up. Even if the mixture was strange, the girl liked it. And he was never an expert cook. Not to mention that the girl's health had been very bad the few times he had given her meat. And it certainly did her good to mash the ingredients hard to release the anger in the process. That day he took her to bed a little earlier than usual. He had to talk to some ill-mannered brothers. When the girl fell asleep holding her brother's hand, he slowly separated himself from there. Looking for the two younger brothers, finding them in the garden playing. You two, come here right now. No arguments or complaints. Now, Guzman shouted. The two boys stood up straight and approached. Bertram looked at him shyly. Since he could remember, in his current 16 years, he had not seen his brother so disappointed. Maybe angry, yes. But this was different. Guzman had not seen him like that either, with that expression in his current 21 years. It was unpleasant. I know what you have done. I cannot be more disappointed with you. You are older than her. You should take care of her, not do this. She has very little to look forward to. And you make it worse, Guzman said, putting his hands on his waist in disapproval and frowning. It's her fault. Why do you give her gifts like that? She's bad. It's her fault that Dad left. And she's so different from us. You should give things to us, not her, Guzman shouted angrily. Instead, Bertram lowered his head without answering. Maybe not out of understanding, but out of respect for his brother. Barduf clenched his fist, avoiding the impulse to hit his brother. No, he's not going to hit him. At least not so easily. He's not going to educate them by hitting them. Not like his father did. Which was actually common for the time, but Barduf was different from that scum. You're wrong. You have something much more valuable, something better than some paintings. You have your mother's love. Something your sister has never had and, I fear, she never will. Barduf said a little sadly. Both younger brothers opened their eyes, realizing what he said. It was true. Maybe they didn't love their sister. People don't change that fast, but at the same time they were already adults, or at least enough to think more clearly than in their past. It wasn't the girl's fault that she was born the way she was because of the R. I'm sorry, brother. It won't happen again, Bertram said, bowing his head. Barduf went to a troublesome place. But at least he gave those impulsive boys something to think about. Although, in reality, many people are liars and fall back into bad habits. This is the end of the first video. Thank you very much for giving me a chance, and I hope you liked it. If so, please support the video as much as possible. Thank you.